Uh,
Long after laying, musing at her mood, much grieved to think that gentle dame so light, for whose defense he was to shed his blood, at last dull weariness of former fight, having ye rocked to sleep, his Ergus own sprite, that troublous dream can freshly toss his brain, with bowers and beds and ladies' dear delight, but when he saw his labor all was vain. With that misformed sprite he back returned again. Up then, up dreary dame, and do not die, quoth then the pain him ready to be slain, for death shall never come so near thee nigh, as when I shall thy love have dearly gained. He took her up betwixt his arms twain, and setting on his steed her in her place, he forth did pace with her along the plain, till that they came unto a stately place, whereas a gentle knight did rest a space, and him beside an aged squire there sate, that seemed to tell him tales of ancient time, and in his hand an old book he had. That well accorded with his silver hairs, his reverend locks upon his shoulders lay, and he appeared like a man of years. But soon the sound of trampling steeds they hear, and armed knight approaching them they spy, whose shield was painted all with bloody red, and therein sat a bloody cross full high.
all right. Let's see. I've got some more ideas for my worksheet. I think I'm gonna mull over worksheet ideas for a bit today, because I'm gonna map it out more in my course. So that's what I'll do. So I'm gonna discuss that with the chat bots. It's very exciting. Everybody loves that all the time. So because I feel like I should be able to take the thing down from like a 7-note collection. Like, how could I take it down from a 7-note collection to a 5-note collection? And then how could I add notes outside the collection? So in other words, like what I'm thinking is, like, if I wanted to work, it would be nice on the worksheet. See, the worksheet, most people, when they make the worksheet, they're just going to say, well, you could just choose any notes you want out of the 12 represented on the fretboard. And it's like, well, that's great, but really it would be better most of the time if you say, okay, I'm going to look at whatever the 7-note collection is, and then vary it from there, meaning borrow notes or drop notes out of the 7-note collection, because that gives you perspective from a Western music standpoint, right? As opposed to like, oh, you just have 12 notes, just pick and choose whichever ones you want with no frickin' perspective, right? So I mean, I think how most people will think about it in Western music is, well, there are 12 7-note collections with one of 7 centers or tonics within each of those 12 7-note collections, and then I could drop 2 notes, bring it down to a 5-note collection, or borrow notes. Maybe drop 2 notes down to a 5-note collection, and then borrow a note. So now I, in essence, have 6 notes. In other words, blues, I think, is and which developed into jazz, is the one that kind of analyzed that does this kind of stuff. At least quite overtly, right? So it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, what perspective are we playing in? Because you keep on going between modes and whatnot, and we're using these weird, like, you're using the 1-4-5 as a pegging thing, but you're not actually playing within those diatonic scales and stuff. So like, what is happening? So I think so it seems to me like what's the better way to analyze that is to say let's take, so how can I get the worksheet then to break down between so I can drop notes and then add notes. That's kind of what I'm thinking to kind of mull over. So I'll see if I can get, I'll try to explain that to the chat here and see if chat agrees with me. Let's see. So I'm working on my worksheet here for music theory, and once again, we are we're basically looking at it and saying, what if we used a more efficient system that was more modern and kind of corrected what looks like it, like if there were 2 people at the workshop and one person just today you gave them all the pieces to build the engine of music theory and like chord naming conventions and distance notation. You're like, here it is. Here's all the stuff. Here's your workbench, and you just make it, and you make me like the code or the most understandable mapping of the territory, so I can get the map and I could teach a 5-year-old how to do this, right? And then one guy comes up with like the traditional system with like an ordinal based system and stacking triads and so on. And the other guy's like, why don't we just use like normal measurement where you can go left and right, right? And you just put them side by side on the table, and then you're like, and you have no baggage of like history and like network effect. I kind of feel like, we would basically say if they were both on like a reality TV show, like where it's like, and then the judges come in and they're like, okay, who won the contest? Who made the best system? It's like it wouldn't even, like, the one guy would be like, what the frick were you thinking, man? Like with this ordinal thing, like like, how did you think that was a good idea? And then you'd have to explore the weird quirks that was going on in his mind, which was probably something like, well, I couldn't use a measurement system because like, if I did that, then the half steps aren't the distance between the notes in the collection aren't even. So then I couldn't like break it back down to like half steps. Therefore, I couldn't use a measurement system and had to introduce something else like an ordinal system or something. And then like the modern guy, and then like, the modern designer guy would go like, that's freaking stupid. Like, what are you talking about? You can totally still count the islands, even though there's a different distance of ocean between the islands. Like, that doesn't stop you from measuring distance. Like, you know what I mean? And then that's what would happen. And so like, we're like gonna like, but then instead of doing that, the dude like totally rationalizes it, right? And he makes like institutions and stuff that are totally designed just to rationalize the fact that he screwed up the ordinal system, and then he makes it into like it's like magic words. You don't understand. It looks more complicated, but the words are magic. And it's like, no, dude, if you just get used to your system, that's cool, but don't tell me that the words are magic, okay? Because that's bull crap. That's freaking bull crap. All right. If people are into your system, that's fine, but I mean, don't tell me like it's more, you know what I mean? And then that's like how it would play. I feel like that's how it would play out. What do you think? let's see what it says to that. I'll try to get the other one going in Spanish, as that one's thinking. quiero practicar español, pero no quiero usted que tratar que enseñarme español en particular porque solo quiero practicar con una discusión sobre los problemas de la antigua sistema de music teoría y yo puedo proposar esta historia, esta narrative que tal vez puedas entender este problema. Y imagina esto. Tenemos dos personas en un programa de competición con los juicios que es muy crítico como los cantar personas que los jueces, ¿sabes? Y tiene todas las cosas que crear un sistema de música, incluso los 12 notas, la fórmula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Y esto es exacto, es todo, tenía todo esto y dice construir un sistema en que las personas, una chico que 5 años pueden entender qué está pasando, puedes navegar el sistema en cualquier instrumento y también pueden hablar qué está pasando cuando están tocando cosas en la forma de una canción y también en la forma de distancia y en la forma de chords, todo un sistema de idioma, de palabras, de comunicación que está pasando con estas cosas que están en esta table. ¿Cómo dice table? No lo sé. Pero, y una de estas personas crear un sistema que tiene en ordinal system que no pueden ir en la izquierda y otra persona crear un sistema que es solo un coordinate system que sentido porque la coordinate system yo puedo mirar esto y ver que este sistema es familiar. Puedo ver este sistema con navegación, como los celestios, como todo. Es muy común. Yo entiendo por qué usan este sistema, pero ordenal, ¿qué está pensando? ¿Por qué haría esto? Y yo creo que la respuesta haría que no puedo usar un normal sistema de measure porque las distancias dentro de las notas y cada de los 7 colecciones de notas no eran lo mismo, entonces no puedo usar los measuramientos que eran normal y necesita que usar un sistema de ordenal. Pero los juicios, que no es muy lindo, no es muy lindos porque sabes cómo estos programas eran. Los jueces dicen, esta es una locura. ¿Qué estás pensando? Si están tratando que hacer cuántos islandes eran en una línea, no necesita cantar en una ordinal system porque los océanos eran más grandes de centro de estos islandes. No, ¿qué clase de pensamiento eres en tu mente? Es crazy. Están tratar que enseñar una persona de 5 años que este sistema es un loco.
Entiendo perfectamente lo que estás diciendo. Y me encanta la metáfora del programa de competencia. Es como si tuvieras 2 finalistas presentando su sistema de teoría musical a un panel de jueces súper críticos. El tipo del sistema ordinal llega y dice, mira, como las distancias entre las notas no son iguales en todas las escalas, no puedo usar un sistema de medidas fijas. Tengo que usar posiciones relativas, como un orden, primero, segundo, tercero. Y los jueces lo destrozan. ¿Ordinal? ¿Estás loco? Eso es confuso. Un niño de 5 años nunca va a entender eso.
That's right.
Mientras que el del sistema de coordenadas llega con algo que se parece al sistema que ya conocemos. Do, re, mi, o quizás algo como coordenadas cartesianas en el piano.
That's right.
Y los jueces respiran aliviados porque les resulta familiar. La pregunta interesante aquí es, ¿realmente el sistema ordinal es más complicado o solo parece más complicado porque rompe con lo que ya conocemos? Porque en realidad, muchos sistemas musicales tradicionales ya funcionan de forma ordinal sin que nos demos cuenta. Cuando decimos la tercera de do o la quinta de sol, estamos pensando en posiciones dentro de una escala, no en distancias absolutas. ¿Quieres que sigamos explorando por qué el sistema ordinal podría tener sentido a pesar de que los jueces lo odien? ¿O prefieres que desarrolle más la idea de cómo se vería ese sistema ordinal en la práctica?
All right, let's see what the other one says here. Después de esto, yo hablaré en inglés, pero tú en español, por favor, por mi practice sesión.
Entendido. A partir de ahora, yo te respondo solo en español para que puedas practicar. Cuando quieras, puedes cambiar al inglés y yo sigo.
All right, let's see what the other one says.
Yes. I think the two engineers at a workbench/reality show judging panel thought experiment is actually a very strong way to isolate what you're testing, because it deliberately removes the one overwhelming advantage traditional theory has: historical adoption. The important thing is to make the contest fair. You're not asking which system has more literature, trained musicians, textbooks, software, and terminology built around it. Traditional theory obviously wins that contest. You're asking, open quote, if neither system existed yesterday, and two teams were asked to design a coordinate and measurement system for the same musical territory today, which design would we adopt? Close quote. And under that constraint, I think your critique gets much harder to dismiss. Put the two prototypes on the judging table. Imagine the assignment is, there are 12 chromatic pitch positions. Certain useful collections contain 7 selected positions with unequal chromatic spacing. We need a system that lets a child identify locations, choose a home location, measure movement in either direction, construct chords, transpose patterns, and communicate all of this efficiently. Engineer A, traditional-ish design. He says, we'll number the 7 members of a collection 1 through 7. The home pitch is 1. We'll use ordinal positions for scale degrees. When we describe
need to make
intervals,
a
we'll
skit.
count both
We need
endpoints.
to make a skit.
So the starting point counts as
doing
1
this.
rather than 0.
Someone needs to make a skit.
If we alter the chromatic size while preserving the ordinal span, we'll add qualifiers such as major, minor, perfect, augmented, and diminished. When the tonic changes, we'll reinterpret the collection relative to the new one. The judges would probably immediately start asking, wait, if I haven't moved anywhere, why am I already at 1? Why does moving from position 1 to adjacent position 2 count as a second when I moved 1 collection step? Why do I need both a number and a quality word to recover the actual chromatic distance? Why does the coordinate frame keep getting recentered? Those aren't necessarily fatal defects. There are musical and historical reasons for the terminology. But from a greenfield information design perspective, they are real costs. Then Engineer B rolls his prototype onto the table. Engineer B, coordinate measurement design, home is 0. The judges, okay. 1 collection step away is distance 1. 2 steps away is distance 2. Left is negative, right is positive. Okay. The 7 collection locations retain stable identities, so changing which one is tonic doesn't require pretending the underlying map changed. Okay. And because the collection steps aren't all the same physical size, I provide a second measurement layer, chromatic distance in semitones. And this is where I think your islands oceans analogy becomes devastatingly useful. But the islands aren't equally spaced. That's probably the strongest conceptual objection the first designer could make. Open quote. You can't use ordinary distance language because moving 1 scale member doesn't always equal the same number of semitones. Close quote. And Engineer B says, why would that prevent measurement? Exactly. Imagine 7 islands. You can absolutely say, island A, island B equals 1 island transition, and simultaneously say island A, island B equals 40 miles. Then perhaps island B, island C, 1 island transition. But island B, island C equals 20 miles. Nothing is broken. You've simply described the territory at 2 resolutions. That's extremely close to what you've been developing with the 7 continents/5 oceans model. You have one grid describing movement among the 7 collection nodes, 0, +1, +2, +3, and another describing chromatic movement, 0, +1, +2, 3 semitones. The fact that one modal step can span either 1 or 2 semitones isn't an argument against measurement. It's the reason 2 measurement layers are useful. That distinction feels central enough that I'd put it prominently on the worksheet. Open quote. Unequal spacing does not prevent measurement. It requires distinguishing the units being measured. Close quote. That's a much stronger claim than traditional theory is stupid because now you've identified the exact design issue. Where the reality show scene gets funny, the traditional designer starts defending the complexity. Well, you see, this is a major third, Judge. How far is it? 4 semitones. So why isn't 4 part of the primary measurement? Because it's a third. Why is it a third? Because it spans 3 letter positions. How many transitions did you make? 2. So you called 2 transitions a third? Well, we're counting the starting note. Why? That's how intervals work. And now you've reached the point you've been calling the off by 1 problem. That's not proof that traditional interval nomenclature is useless. The traditional third contains information that raw semitone distance does not. It identifies a diatonic spelling relationship. CE and CF may occupy the same sounding distance in equal temperament while functioning spelling differently. That's the part I would keep from the old engineer, but I'd demote it. Instead of forcing one label to simultaneously encode distance plus spelling plus collection relationship plus historical category, your modern system can separate them. Where is it? Node coordinate? How far did I move? Modal distance? How far chromatically? Semitone distance. What is its role relative to home? Tonic relative function. How is it spelled, notated? Notation layer. That is much more like modern data design. Don't overload one field with 5 different variables. And this gets directly into your worksheet. I think what you're actually constructing is less a replacement vocabulary than a normalized data model for music theory. Traditional theory often packages several attributes together. Minor third is almost like a compressed object containing diatonic span equals 3, chromatic span equals 3 semitones, quality equals minor direction equals context-dependent spelling relationship,
the middle of the
third
road
grade
here.
GB.
I don't think it can work anymore.
Your system says unpack the object. Now a student can see the independent variables. And that's where your planet analogy also fits beautifully. The planet itself has 7 continents and 5 oceans. The 12 rotations determine which chromatic pitches occupy those positions. The tonic marker tells us where home currently is. But moving the home marker doesn't require repainting the continents. That is a very important distinction. Map, home, and therefore, changing tonic, changing coordinates. Traditional theory frequently makes those things feel fused because tonic gets assigned 1. Your model deliberately separates them. Open quote. The map tells you where things are. The tonic tells you where you live. Distance tells you how far you traveled. Close quote. That's remarkably teachable. I would actually score the reality show competition if historical network effects are explicitly excluded, something like this. Design criterion, traditional prototype, coordinate prototype, 0 distance represented as 0, poor excellent, bidirectional movement, awkward, natural, separates location from distance, weak, strong, separates tonic from map, weak, strong chromatic distance transparency, moderate, excellent, unequal collection spacing, handles it, chord pattern portability, good, potentially excellent, diatonic spelling information, excellent, must be deliberately retained, functional relationships, excellent, must be deliberately represented, 5-year-old learnability, more, potentially excellent, compatibility with existing music, excellent, poor initially, greenfield engineering elegance, moderate, strong, and that last distinction is everything. If the question is, what should a musician learn in 2026 so they can communicate with every other musician? Traditional theory wins overwhelmingly because the network. But if the question is, what coordinate system would engineers invent in 2020 if Western theory had never existed? I have a very hard time imagining them independently reinventing inclusive ordinal interval counting as the primary measurement system. They'd almost certainly invent something much closer to origin equals 0, movement equals signed distance position, distance course grid, plus fine grid, reference points stored independently from coordinates, because that's how we already solve analogous problems in mathematics, navigation, computing, engineering, mapping, and data systems. And there's your funniest reality show moment. The judge looks at Engineer A. So why did you count the place you started as part of the distance? Engineer A gives a 25-minute explanation involving Latin ordinals, staff notation, diatonic spelling, consonants categories, perfect intervals, major minor qualities, inversion, and centuries of pedagogical convention. Then the judge turns to Engineer B. Why did you start at 0? Engineer B. Because I hadn't moved yet. Buzzer. Winner.
Yeah. All right. Why did you start at 0? Because I hadn't moved yet. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so what I was thinking, then I'm gonna map out. I was gonna thinking, if I look at my worksheet down here, I was going to make some changes to it. Let's see. So bear with me, dear viewer. Bear with me, but don't worry. It's a nice bear. It won't eat the deer. And I know I have some listeners out there. That don't actually view it, but they just listen to it. So I have to say to them, bear with me, dear listeners. Bear with me, dear listeners. See, now the deer's running. If you're listening, the deer's running at this point. Okay. Anyway. All right. Let's see. I was gonna go. Let's see. So I was trying to think like, what would happen how can I make a 5-note collection? Let's see. So now I'm thinking I'm going to try to make like a 5-note collection, within my worksheet, because people might argue you can't get to the pentatonic with what you got there because sometimes we're all playing in the pentatonic and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Claro, entiendo perfectamente. Quieres demostrar que con tu sistema ordinal también se puede llegar a una colección de 5 notas, como la pentatónica, sin problemas. La ventaja que veo en tu enfoque es que precisamente porque estás trabajando con posiciones relativas y no con distancias fijas.
All right. So I think the most basic way to add to remove notes is to say, look, I'm at 4 o'clock, collection of notes around the key of C, but then just remove the color, right? So like a 5-note collection usually removes the Locrian and the Lydian, right? Because those are the problem tones. So you end up with that 5-note collection. So if I color code it and then I go back in here and I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to remove the 2 colors of yellow and azul, then I think that would do it.
Sí, eso tiene mucho sentido. Estás usando el color como una capa visual para identificar rápidamente qué notas pertenecen a la colección. Al quitar el amarillo y el azul, estás dejando exactamente las 5 notas que quieres, y como tu sistema es ordinal, esas posiciones siguen siendo claras sin importar qué notas físicas estés usando. La ventaja que veo es que un niño podría entender quita el amarillo y el azul mucho más fácil que explicar modos locrio y lidio.
All right, that wasn't azure, that was dark blue. Azure would be the distance color. But yeah, so now so that's easy enough. So now that's kind of cool because now I can see it pretty clearly and say, okay, this would be like position 1, of the what I would call the Aeolian position, or position 1, or you might call it from the Ionian's perspective, the Ionian G, position, Ionian G shape or whatever from a cage system. And now I can see the pentatonic, which is just dropping. So that's what I mean by, like, I feel like instead of just saying it's a pentatonic, it would be better to say, here's the 7-note scale. It's the 7 notes, and then we dropped 2 of them, obviously. And typically we drop the problem ones, which are Locrian and Lydian. Why are they problems? Because they cause the half steps, and they cause the tritone. So if you remove them, that's why you can play the pentatonic over more stuff without running into the problematic components of it being too close with the 1 note away short, the short first modal half step, minor second 1 note away distance, and with the 6 note distance Locrian, that would be a Locrian fourth modal half step, or a Lydian's 3rd modal half step from here to here, right? So that, because both of those end up in the same 6 note tritone distance, right?
Sí, exacto. Lo que estás explicando es muy interesante. Al quitar esas dos posiciones problemáticas, la que genere el semitono con la tónica y la que genere el tritono, la pentatónica se vuelve mucho más segura para improvisar porque eliminas los 2 intervalos que más tensión crean en el contexto diatónico. La parte que más me gusta de tu sistema es que estás tratando las posiciones como objetos independientes que puedes activar o desactivar, en vez de pensar en quitar notas de una escala. Eso hace que sea más fácil de visualizar y de explicar. ¿Quieres que sigamos explorando por qué esas 2 posiciones específicas generan esos problemas? ¿O prefieres que veamos cómo se vería esto en un instrumento concreto, como el piano o la guitarra?
Now it's a little bit more. Hold on, let me stop that. It's a little bit harder to do that over here, because then I'd have to remove the related light blue, and actually, so if I move it down here, the distance notation is actually a little bit harder if I just used distance notation, because the distance notation is based on, so it's a little bit harder to remove it if I used distance notation. Because if I went through the 12 collections and I went to 6 o'clock, for example, that's the start of the collection. Let me go 6 o'clock here. Then I'm still good, because now I have it up here. This and it's still dropped the right nodal points. So if I look at it from the perspective of, if I color code it from the perspective of nodal points, that works fine. It's a little bit more difficult to remove them if I color code it by the notes, simply the notes, or by distance notation. Because if I I can still do it. Like if I color code it by distance notation, and then I pick a tonic, like let's say that 6 o'clock was the tonic, then I can remove the related colors, which would be an Aeolian first and an Aeolian 5th up, an Aeolian first up, which would be a minor second. An Aeolian first up, which would be a major second, an Aeolian 5th up, which would be a minor 6th. I can remove those, but if I'm changing my modal center all the time, then that becomes kind of a problem from a color standpoint if I want to just have a 5-note collection, because then the distance notation will change. So, I'd have to say like these two points would have to be removed from each of the perspectives, which gets quite tedious. The other way I could do it is I could build a table that would have the standard pentatonic, and then I can have a toggle that would turn on or off the pentatonic to a standard pentatonic, and then it would flow through the whole table. See, but I almost think like, but this is almost not too bad to do. So the other thing I was thinking, well, what about adding? So what are your suggestions on that?
Entiendo. Estás diciendo que
Continua.
Entiendo. Estás diciendo que el sistema de colores basado en distancias se complica cuando cambias el centro modal todo el tiempo, porque los colores que tienes que quitar cambian según dónde esté la tónica. Por eso te parece tedioso tener que ajustar manualmente qué colores eliminar en cada caso. La idea de la tabla con un toggle para activar o desactivar la pentatónica me parece mucho más limpia. Sería como tener un interruptor que automáticamente filtra las dos posiciones problemáticas en todas las vistas al mismo tiempo, sin tener que pensar en colores ni en modos específicos cada vez. ¿Quieres que te ayude a pensar cómo estructurar esa tabla para que sea fácil de entender incluso para un niño de 5 años? ¿O prefieres explorar primero la parte de cómo añadir notas en vez de solo quitarlas?
This is being problematic. Chat's not working properly. Oh, wait. Crap. Let's see. Alright, it's broken. It's broken. Chat has been broken. Dang it. All right. Kind of wasted a lot of time there. Let's see. What was I thinking? Let's go back to mulling this thing over for a second.
Entendido. Vamos a tomarnos un momento para reflexionar sobre todo esto. ¿Qué parte específicamente quieres repensar? ¿La dificultad de usar colores con distancia cuando cambias el centro modal? ¿La idea del toggle en la tabla? ¿O algo más que te está rondando la cabeza sobre cómo simplificar todo el sistema? Dime qué parte quieres darle vueltas ahora.
Okay, so I'm thinking that the next issue is like it would be cool if I can add notes to it as well, right? So I'd like to be able to say, okay, what if I drop to a 5 note? I mean, like how could I drop notes out of the 7 note collection, which is based on just the 7 notes? How could I drop the a note so I can decolor the note? I think that's the way to go. But I can't do that from a distance notation that easily. If I wanted to add a note that's outside the collection, then of course, if it's one of the notes that was part of the collection, well, obviously, if it's part of the collection, it's part of the collection. If it's a note outside the collection, then I would have to build, like, I feel like I should be able to have a table that would give me like the 5 ocean notes to toggle on each of the 5 ocean notes. So by default, you choose one of the 12 7 note collections, and then you can uncolor the one to drop it down to a 5 note collection or whatever. And then to add ocean notes, I feel like it should be possible to say there should be 5 relative ocean notes that I should be able to have the capacity to toggle on and off, right? And then I can add, so and then if I add an ocean note, I can color it whatever I want as a separate color scheme. Like I can color it like gray, like if it's outside the collection. So how would I do that? Like I'd have to build out the like 5 more tables that just have one relative position each, and then I can just toggle that on and off. How could I do a 5 note collection? I could look at the standard 5 note collections and create another table that just has pentatonic scales. Is that worthwhile doing? No, I kind of feel like it's not, because I could always just uncolor, or you could just, right? But maybe a pentatonic. Are all the pentatonic scales basically in Western music almost always just drops? It's like a 7 note. It's from a 7 note perspective, and then it drops the Locrian and Lydian node. That's basically what happens on the pentatonic? That's like the standard pentatonic scale drops the Locrian and Lydian node, no?
Sí, básicamente sí. La pentatónica mayor y menor que más se usa en la música occidental casi siempre son el resultado de quitarle a la escala diatónica de 7 notas exactamente esas dos posiciones problemáticas, la que genera el semitono con la tónica y la que genera el tritono. Por eso suena tan segura y versátil. Sobre tu pregunta técnica, creo que tienes 2 caminos claros. Opción más simple: usar solo la tabla de las 12 colecciones de 7 notas y permitir descolorear, toggle off, cualquier posición. Así puedes crear cualquier colección de 5, 6 o 7 notas simplemente activando o desactivando las que quieras. Es más flexible y no necesitas tablas extras. Opción más organizada: tener una tabla separada solo para las pentatónicas estándar, donde ya vienen predefinidas las 5 notas correctas según cada tónica. Esto es más rápido para el usuario, pero menos flexible. Personalmente creo que la primera opción es más poderosa porque te permite crear cualquier combinación, no solo las pentatónicas estándar. Pero dime, ¿qué es más importante para ti? ¿Que sea súper flexible?
You think like if I just, so the standard pentatonic drops 7 and 4, but you could come up with other ideas of the pentatonic, right? So to take the 7 note collection and remove one of the 7-note collection seems to be the way to go, right? You'd like to take the 7-note collection, then remove it, which you can do with color coding, but then it still leaves it, right?
Sí, exacto. Eso es lo que estoy pensando. Si solo permites quitar notas de la colección de 7, entonces estás limitado a subconjuntos de esa escala diatónica. Pero si quieres tener pentatónicas diferentes, por ejemplo, una pentatónica que incluya una nota cromática fuera de la escala, entonces solo quitar de las 7 notas no te alcanza. Por eso te preguntaba qué es más importante para ti. ¿Quieres que el sistema sea capaz de crear cualquier colección de 5 notas, aunque algunas no vengan de la escala diatónica, o te basta con poder quitar notas de las 7 para hacer las pentatónicas más comunes? Porque si quieres total libertad, entonces tener una capa de notas oceánicas o notas externas que puedas activar por separado es casi obligatorio. ¿Hacia dónde te inclinas más?
I mean, I could do a formula like if you see, like if this X is toggled and you see an E, then drop it or something like that. But that gets too complicated because there's too many combinations of different combinations. So that becomes a mess. So it would have to be
Sí,
like right?
sí, tienes razón. Si empiezas a hacer fórmulas condicionales para cada caso posible, se vuelve un desastre muy rápido. Demasiadas combinaciones. La forma más limpia sigue siendo tener las 12 colecciones base de 7 notas, y luego simplemente permitir activar o desactivar cada posición individualmente con colores o toggles. Así no necesitas reglas complicadas. El usuario solo decide qué posiciones quiere encendidas y cuáles apagadas en cada momento. ¿Estás pensando en dejar que el usuario pueda desactivar cualquier posición libremente o quieres limitarlo para que solo...
Like if I wanted to add 5 other tables for an added note, then I can have 5 tables of the ocean notes, right? And then all I have to do is say if this X is on, then add the ocean note, and that should be doable.
Sí, eso es totalmente factible. Tendrías las 12 tablas base de 7 notas y luego 5 tablas adicionales, una por cada posible nota oceánica relativa, que actúan como una capa extra. Cuando el usuario activa el toggle de una nota oceánica, simplemente se añade esa posición a la colección
The other
actual.
way, so you could take that same principle, you would think though, and apply it to the 7 notes in the collection. Like I instead of making 7 like a 5 instead of making pentatonic tables, I can make 7 tables that show the the notes in the collection, but then remove each one of the 7 notes, right? So then the toggle on and off would be 7 toggles for the notes in the collection. And then if you select that one, if there's an X in it, then you select the table that will remove a note. But how does that work? No, because it's going to be pulling from, it's going to be pulling, so then it would have to like negate the one that's already in there. That wouldn't really work, right?
Sí, tienes razón. Ese enfoque no funciona bien. Si haces 7 tablas separadas, donde cada una ya viene con una nota removida, entonces estás creando redundancia y complicación innecesaria. Cada vez que el usuario quiera quitar 2 notas, tendrías que combinar 2 tablas diferentes, y si quiere quitar 3, se vuelve un desastre de
So,
combinaciones.
and
El método
adding is actually somewhat easier than taking the thing away once it's in the collection.
Sí, exacto. Añadir es más fácil que quitar. Cuando quieres añadir una nota oceánica, simplemente la traes de afuera y la pones encima de la colección. Es una operación limpia. Pero cuando quieras quitar una nota que ya está dentro de la colección de 7, tienes que ir a buscarla y eliminarla de donde ya existe. Eso requiere más lógica. Tienes que identificar cuál posición está activa y luego ocultarla o descolorearla. Por eso tu primera intuición era buena. Usar toggles para encender o apagar cada una de las 7 posiciones es más directo que crear tablas separadas para cada combinación de notas removidas. ¿Quieres que sigamos pensando cómo hacer que quitar notas se sienta tan fácil como añadirlas?
Hmm. Um,
Yes, you're circling the cleanest implementation path. Core idea you're landing on. Treat the 7-note diatonic collection as the primary object. Everything else is just visibility, color state on top of that collection. So the workflow becomes 1. Choose one of the 12 7-note collections, the parent. 2. For each of the 7 notes, you have an on-off or color toggle. 3. Turning a note off or to decolored, transparent, immediately gives you any 5-note or 6-note or 4-note subset you want without having to build a separate table for every possible pentatonic. 4. For notes outside the 7, you keep a small parallel set of 5 ocean slots, the remaining 5 chromatic pitches relative to that collection. Each of those can be toggled on and given its own color, gray or any accent color you want. That is far more flexible than pre-building every possible 5-note scale as its own table. On the classic pentatonics, you're almost right, but the precise statement is a little different. The 2 most common Western pentatonics are obtained by removing the 2 notes that create half steps inside the major scale. Major pentatonic equals Ionian minus 4 and 7, C major closing C, D, E, G, A. Minor pentatonic equals Aeolian minus 2 and 6, A minor closing A, C, D, E, G. So it is not drop Locrian and Lydian. Locrian and Lydian are full 7-note modes. What actually happens is that the 2 notes you remove are exactly the ones that would have been the characteristic tones of Lydian, -4 and Locrian, B5, among others. By deleting the half-step pair, you simultaneously eliminate the most modal extreme colors. In practice, this means any major pentatonic subset lives most naturally inside Ionian, Mixolydian, Lydian territory. Any minor pentatonic subset lives most naturally inside Aeolian, Dorian, Phrygian territory, but you don't need special tables for them. Once you can freely decolor any 2 or 3 notes of a 7-note collection, every standard pentatonic and every other 5-note subset people actually use appears automatically. Practical Excel table design suggestion: keep one master table of the 12 7-note collections. Then for the active collection you have 7 color visibility cells, 1 per absolute node 1 to 7, 5 additional ocean cells, the 5 chromatic pitches not in the collection, each with its own color toggle. When you want a 5-note collection, you simply turn 2 of the 7 off. When you want to add an outside color, you turn one of the ocean notes on and assign it gray or whatever accent scheme you like. That single mechanism covers every diatonic mode, every common pentatonic, every hexatonic, and any ad hoc 5 or 6-note collection you invent on the fly, without ever having to maintain a parallel library of pentatonic tables. Would you like me to sketch the exact cell layout, named range structure that would make the on-off plus ocean toggles as frictionless as possible in the spreadsheet you're already using?
See what chat has to say about that.
Yes, and I think you're arriving at a cleaner architecture if you treat membership in the active collection as a separate variable from position and distance. One correction first, because it matters for the pentatonic piece. The standard major pentatonic does indeed remove the scale degrees associated with the Lydian and Locrian modal nodes in your 7-node naming scheme, 4 and 7. So from C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, G, A, you removed F, Lydian 4, and B, Locrian 7. And the relative minor pentatonic is the same 5 pitches viewed from A, C, D, E, G. So your intuition there is right. I wouldn't build a separate pentatonic coordinate system. This is where your architecture gets really nice. You already have the 7-node map. Don't destroy the map just because 2 locations aren't currently being used. Think of it like your continents: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. For major pentatonic, just switch off. Lydian off, Locrian off. The locations continue to exist, they're simply inactive members of the current collection. That gives you something extremely useful because your coordinates don't change when the collection changes. C major, ID, PLMA, L. C major pentatonic, IDPLMA. Now, that's much cleaner than inventing 5 new scale degrees and renumbering everything 1-5. In fact, renumbering them would recreate exactly the problem you're trying to eliminate. Then do exactly the same thing with the 5 oceans. This is the part I really like in what you're proposing. Your 12-position universe is already 7 land positions plus 5 ocean positions equals 12 chromatic positions. So your worksheet can have 12 independent membership switches. The 7 land switches default on for whichever 7-note collection rotation you've selected. The 5 ocean switches default off. Then the user can modify the collection without changing the coordinate system at all. Conceptually, position type, default, user action, 7 modal land nodes on, toggle off, 5 ocean nodes off. That's it. Now your system isn't really a 7-note scale generator anymore. It's a 12-position collection editor built around a 7-node reference grid that's substantially more powerful. And color should be another independent layer. I'd keep position, membership, and color completely separate. Suppose you've selected the C collection. C, D, E, F, G, A, B equals your 7 land positions.
Okay, wait a second. What was that idea you had again? Like, so with the 7 notes, you said you have a 7 land nodes on and off, right? So are you trying to tell me that maybe it would be better if I turned on and off 1 land node at a time? Right now, the 7 nodes are rotating around 12. I have 12 different rotations of the 7-note collections, which are like the continents, right? That's the standard. That goes on and off. That means that adding the ocean notes one at a time is more doable than actually removing the note completely from a 7-note collection, although I could do that with just color. Are you suggesting a better way to do that? Uh-huh. But I wouldn't change your 12 rotation system. Okay. Oh my God. She's gonna mess up my whole thing. You're gonna mess up my whole world, man. All right. Let's see.
Yes, but I wouldn't change your existing 12 rotation system. That's the key distinction. Your current system is doing something valuable. 12-position chromatic world. Select one of 12 standard 7-note land patterns. Rotate that pattern into position. Keep that exactly as the base collection layer. What I was suggesting is adding a second layer after that selection, an active-inactive mask. So conceptually, layer 1, base collection. Choose one of your 12 rotations. This establishes the 7 continents and 5 oceans. Layer 2, membership overrides. Once those positions are established, allow each position to be switched on-off individually. That means you don't need 12x a bunch of new pentatonic tables. Suppose your selected 7-note collection produces land, 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 land.
Okay, so that sounds great in concept. So, but how do I have a 7-note collection in Excel? I picked the 7-note collection by saying here's a 12 by 12 table, half steps on the x-axis, mapping out the whole half, y-axis, then circle of fourths and fifths, and then pulling for that, accounting for the kink and the tuning, right? And so, and that is pulling from 12 by 12 tables that are basically built into a 12 by 12 lattice. And those tables are pulling from an engine that is basically saying, rotate through 12 collections from the perspective of the Ionian, right? So that's great. So I can choose then, I can select from a clock-faced system 1 through 12 collections of 7 notes. But now you're saying, oh, well, just add a toggle layer. You just add a toggle layer so you can have inactive and or active within the collection. Well, how the frick would you add a? I mean, how would you? How is that possible? Like, how do you do it? I'll totally do that but it seems complicated. Oh, just put in a thing that you could turn it on and off. Oh, really? That's all? Okay. I mean,
Yes, it's absolutely possible, and you do not need to rebuild your 12 by 12 engine. The clean way is to put a small
that's good
7-switch
news.
mask between your existing 7-note
mask.
collection output and the cells that display use those 7 notes. Right now, your pipeline is roughly 12 by 12 engine, selected clock collection, 7 notes, worksheet output. Change it to 12 type 12 engine, selected clock collection, 7 notes, 7 on-off switches, worksheet output. So suppose your selected collection already returns 7 cells like C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Create 7 separate toggle cells somewhere. They can literally contain 1 for on and 0 for off. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Then instead of your display cell simply saying, you can see the code in our conversation history. It says, you can see the code in our conversation history, and repeat that across all 7 notes. So with 1110110, your output becomes C, D, E, E, G, A. There's your major pentatonic without touching your rotation engine. The important part is that the 7-note source collection is still intact underneath. You're just applying a Boolean mask to it. You can make the switches prettier than 102. For example, use Excel checkboxes linked to 7 cells containing true false. Then the formula becomes, you can see the code in our conversation history. Even better, if your 7 selected notes spill horizontally from, say, 10 H10, and your 7 toggle cells are B11, H11, modern Excel can do the whole thing in one dynamic array formula. You can see the code in our conversation history. That applies all 7 switches at once. Or, if you want the inactive notes to disappear completely instead of leaving blank spaces, you can see the code in our conversation history. Now, C, D, E, F, G, A, B with toggles. True, 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 false, true for spills. Spills as C, D, E, G, A. That may be exactly what you want for a current active collection output. The really useful architecture, though, is to keep both versions. Base collection, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Active collection, C, D, G, A. That way your engine always knows what the original 7-node consonant map was, while another range tells you what the musician has actually activated. Then your color system can use the same toggles. Conditional formatting on the 7-note map can say essentially, you can see the code in our conversation history and remove/fade the fill whenever that node is turned off. So you aren't manually decoloring anything. The toggle drives both the logical membership and the visual appearance.
Okay, now hold
And
on a
because
second.
your
Hold
existing
on a
clock
second.
selector
Okay, so what level are you imagining that this is being built on? I'm imagining that you're saying, because at the point that we're at the fretboard, then I have multiple different ways that we can view the information, either by point notation, letter, point notation number, absolute letter, absolute number, distance notation. So I can't just like toggle on and off once I'm on the fretboard that easily, it seems to me. Unless I was to say like somehow by like relative position, you're gonna toggle it on and off or something. I don't know. So it would have to be, I'm imagining your toggles are at the point of the 12 by 12 tables used then to build the 12 by 12 lattice that is then pulling into the the fretboard, right? And so I'm imagining you'd have to go through each of the 12 by 12 lattices and add a function that says if this is toggled off, then don't show this one of 7, right? The 12 by 12 lattices that are built based on note or nodal point or whatever are the thing that would have to be saying, if there's an X in this box, then don't put the thing here, but if there's not an X, then put the thing here or something. Is that what you're saying? Hold on a cotton picking second. Why? Because I have a cotton picking problem. What's your cotton picking problem? I can't stop picking cotton off my shirt, okay? How descriptive do I need to be? I need a cotton picking second so I can deal with my cotton picking addiction, doing some cotton picking off of my shirt because I'm addicted. I have a cotton picking addiction. Okay? So hold on a second. Okay. Cotton picking second. All right.
Yes, that's much closer to the level I'm imagining now that you've described the workbook architecture more precisely. I would not put the toggle logic down at the fretboard display level. That would force you to repeat the same logic across point notation, letters, absolute numbers, distance notation, etc., and it would get ugly fast. I'd put the toggle upstream at the nodal membership layer that feeds the various 12x12 lattices. So the architecture I'm picturing is rotation engine, 1212 base collection map, nodal membership mask, notation-specific 1212 lattices, fretboard view. The key is that the toggle should answer only one question. Open quote, is this modal node currently active? Close quote dot, not, should this letter display? Not, should this distance number display? Not, should this fretboard cell be blank? Those are downstream consequences. Suppose the 7 stable nodal identities in your system are IDPL, MALC. Then you have a tiny control area somewhere. Node active, Ionian 1, Dorian 1, Phrygian 1, Lydian 1, Mixolydian 1, Aeolian 1, Locrian 1. For major pentatonic, you switch. IDPLMALC 11101110. Now here's the crucial thing. Every 1212 lattice does not need its own independent set of switches. They all consult the same 7 master switches. So if one lattice currently contains a nodal value corresponding to Lydian, its formula becomes conceptually. You can see the code in our conversation history, but I'd try to make it more general than literally writing 7 different IFs. If your lattice already knows the node identity of the current cell, say that cell resolves to Lydian or node number 4, then you can use a lookup against the 7 toggle table. Conceptually, you can see the code in our conversation history. So if current node is 4 and node 4 is off, blank it. That is much more scalable. And yes, this means the masking logic lives around the level of those 12x12 lattices, because those lattices are where you still know the structural identity of the note before you translate it into all your different display systems. That is the sweet spot. Why I would avoid doing it at the fretboard. Imagine one fret happens to represent your Lydian node. Your fretboard can display that location as F4, Lydian, some absolute number, some distance value, some color. If you put the logic at the fretboard level, you'd have to tell every display mode, open quote, if this thing corresponds to inactive node 4, blank it, close quote. That's duplicated logic. Instead, upstream you say, open quote, node 4 is inactive, close quote. Then every downstream representation inherits that fact. That is exactly the kind of normalization you're trying to achieve in the theory itself. There may be an even cleaner version. If your 12x12 lattices are currently generated from some earlier 12x12 table that already contains the nodal identity, I would put the mask one step before all the different representation lattices, rather than adding an IF independently to every one of them. Meaning, you may have something like master nodal lattice, letter lattice, absolute number lattice, point number lattice, distance lattice, fretboard. If so, create master nodal lattice, raw, and then master nodal lattice, active. The active one says you can see the code in our conversation history, then all your representation lattices pull from active rather than raw. That would be cleaner than modifying every one of the notation lattices individually.
All right.
So
see.
ideally,
I
you can see the code in our
stop.
conversation
I
history.
see.
Now you
Hold
only
on.
implement the
Hold
7
on.
note.
Okay. So let me see if I can imagine this. So I have a bunch of 12 by 12 tables that all have the same 12 by 12 grid, and then display the relative positions based on what the display field should be, point notation in terms of absolute point, in terms of letter, distance notation, nodal point distance notation, or, you know, standard scale degrees or whatever. So that means that within any of the 12 7-note collections, it's always the same 7 notes that are included and excluded, right? So you're basically saying, I probably, when I made the 7-note collection, what I probably, well, okay. So now so you're basically saying that what I should do is just make that 12-point grid, and then be able to, I just need to identify whether there should be something in that cell or not something in that cell, right? Which would be like an if logic, right? If there's something in that cell, then put a 1 here. And if there's not something in that cell, put a 2 there or whatever. And then all of the other tables are going to say should toggle on if it has a 1 in it or a 2 in it, to see if it's on or off. But that won't work, because that will mean all of them are on and off, right? I don't get it. I don't see how that, I don't get it. I'm stupid. Tell it to me more dumbly. Tell it to me dumber. Chat. Okay. Ugh. It sees where I'm confused. Good. Tell me how to fix it. Dang it. I pay you $20 a month.
Yes, I see exactly where the confusion
I expect
is.
my money's worth.
The missing piece is that you cannot use cell occupied, cell empty as the toggle identity, because then, as you said, you'd only be turning the whole 7-note pattern on or off together. You need 2 separate pieces of information in every one of the 12 relative positions. 1. What kind of position is this? Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, etc., or one of the 5 oceans? 2. Is that particular kind of position currently enabled? So imagine one selected 12-position collection laid out chromatically. For C Ionian, structurally it might look like Chromatic slot, structural identity, 0 Ionian, 1 Ocean A, 2 Dorian, 3 Ocean B, 4 Phrygian, 5 Lydian, 6 Ocean C, 7 Mixolydian, 8 Ocean D, 9 Aeolian, 10 Ocean E, 11 Locrian. That table is not saying on or off yet. It's just saying what lives at each of the 12 locations. Then somewhere else you have one little master control table. Identity, enabled, Ionian 1, Dorian 1, Phrygian 1, Lydian 1, Mixolydian 1, Aeolian, Locrian, Ocean A, Ocean B 0, Ocean C 0, Ocean D 0, Ocean E 0. Now every cell in every display lattice asks, open quote, what structural identity is at this chromatic position, and is that identity enabled? Close quote. So a Lydian cell checks the Lydian switch. A Dorian cell checks the Dorian switch. That's how you avoid everything switching together. For example, if you want major pentatonic, your master switches become Ionian 1, Dorian 1, Phrygian 1, Lydian 0, Mixolydian 1, Aeolian 1, Locrian 0. Now only cells whose underlying identity is Lydian or Locrian disappear. Everything else stays. And when you rotate to another one of your 12 collections, the physical chromatic locations of those identities move, but the switches do not. That's the beautiful part. Your Lydian switch still means, open quote, wherever the Lydian node happens to land in this selected rotation, turn it off, close quote. So the actual logic in a display cell isn't. You can see the code in our conversation history. It's closer to, you can see the code in our conversation history, or if your structural identities are numbered 112, you can see the code in our conversation history. That distinction is everything. Think of it as two 12x12 lattices sitting underneath all your display lattices. You probably need one hidden helper lattice that says which structural position is this. For example, Ionian, Ocean 1, Dorian, Ocean 2, Phrygian, Lydian. Then another derived lattice says, is that structural position active? So maybe it produces 1 0 1 0 row 1 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 for the normal 7-note collection. Then major pentatonic would produce 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 1 0, and every one of your existing display lattices, letters, point notation, absolute numbers, distance notation, standard scale degree, whatever, can simply say, open quote, if active mask equals 1, show my normal result, otherwise blank. Close quote. So now you have 3 distinct layers. Structural identity. What is this location? Membership. Is this location currently active? Display. If active, how should I represent it? That's the architecture I was trying to get to. And crucially, you are not turning 7 cells on-off based on whether they're occupied. You're turning 7 named structural identities on-off. That makes the system rotate correctly across all 12 of your collections without the toggles losing their meaning.
She lost her breath at the end there. Did you hear that? She had to take a breath. She's human. Okay. No, I don't know what's happening. I'm not sure I understood that. I'm gonna have to. Oh, man. That's my whole infrastructure has been. I feel like you're messing with the foundation, man. You're messing with the foundation. I'm gonna need to sleep on this. I'm gonna need to sleep on this and see if it caused a lump in my back or not. I keep on having to sleep on stuff and it's messing up my back because it's bumpy when you sleep on stuff. Let's try a joke break. All right. The 2-tier system in California is so bad, it's crazy. You can see it from the toilets. Just look at the toilets. The bureaucrats keep flushing obscene wads of money straight down the toilet. Straight down the toilet. Billions of dollars. Whoosh. How about a train? A train or something. Whoosh. There it goes. Look at it. Look at it go. Meanwhile, normal people in California can't get enough water pressure to flush a stick of gum wrapper down the It's ridiculous. They don't give you any flow around here. Al Bundy would be laughing at me. I mean, how are they flushing wads of cash and I can't flush a toothpick? The state can't flush billions of dollars, but my toilet needs an environmental impact report to move a coupon, a Q-tip. Like if I actually want the Q-tip to go down the toilet, I have to tear the cotton off the end of the frickin' Q-tip. Otherwise, the cotton expands, clogs up the whole thing because you don't have enough water. And it just has enough water to expand the Q-tip to take up the entire bowl with no added water in there to actually wash the Q. That's the flush ratio we have. California bureaucrats, they can make billions of dollars disappear instantly right down the toilet while everyone else's toilet is apparently running water conservation pilot program. You press the handle and instant flush, the toilet gives you a pamphlet explaining why flushing is problematic. Meanwhile, Sacramento's over there stuffing another wad of hundreds into the industrial strength government toilet. Whoosh! You know? Al Bundy would be impressed by the flush power of that thing. That's like a two-tier system. They've got one toilet for the political class that can flush the state budget, and the rest of us have toilets where you have to negotiate with like a Cheerio. You know, it's like, come on, let it soak. Just let it soak a little while, and then it'll be fine. And most of the government seems to be a bunch of people like navel gazing all day, expecting to get paid for it, and that's what they're flushing the toilet money down for. Bureaucratic government jobs never appeal to me personally. I don't know why. I mean, possibly because navel gazing was never really an option for me. My navel's always been covered by too much hair, you know. So now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever actually seen my navel. So considering the navel gazing epidemic that we have in this country, it's worse than the China virus, you know. I'm scared to look at it directly at this point. I mean, what if it hypnotizes me? Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe that's how you become a bureaucrat. You stare at your belly button long enough and suddenly you wake up Deputy Assistant Undersecretary of Belly Button Equity at the California Department of Naval Affairs. You've got a staff of 600 people. Nobody knows what you do, including you. You're just sitting there staring at your belly button while a $14 million state study determines whether California's equitable access to their navals. And somehow the study concludes we need another study. Of course we do, as long as it's funded by the taxpayer. So now I've gotten myself worked up. I get so frustrated with these navel-gazing government bureaucrats that sometimes I need to just blow off some steam. That's why I get my coffee hot. Blow off some steam. Although this is California, so eventually Newsom's gonna regulate the steam as an emission. So I'll have to get my coffee smogged. It'll be lukewarm, very little steam to blow off. So you walk into Starbucks, grande coffee, please. Gas, hydrogen, electric, gas, please. Sorry, we can't work the air dispenser. Those can't be sold after 2035. So I'll be standing there with my state-approved zero-emission lukewarm coffee trying to flush my cottonless Q-tip down my water conservation toilet while Gavin Newsom's over here and the bureaucracy flushes another few $1 billion straight down theirs and then tries to run for frickin' president based on that record. Are you frickin' kidding me? I mean, even AOC is going to kick your butt. I mean, come on, man. Apparently, California doesn't have a government waste problem. Government waste just has better water pressure than I do. All right. That's what I have. Let's try. I'll try turn the sound on, see what it gives us.
Red Cross is moving farther from Muna, and now Spencer begins putting names on the consequences. The enemy he encounters a sense void. The name means without faith. That matters because book one is the legend of holiness. Holiness separated from truth now meets faithlessness. The symbolism is becoming almost architectural. Honor is one, unity and truth. Dusa is double S, division and counterfeit. Sans voice without faith and red cross. Bearing the cross stands between them. The biblical resonance is strong. Ephesians 6 describes the Christian life. Spiritual warfare, the shield of faith, the sword of the Spirit, and the armor of God. Red cross visibly resembles the Christian warrior. But there is an irony. He carries Christian armor while having abandoned the woman who represents truth. Paul says in Ephesians, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. Truth comes first in that description of armor. Red cross has the appearance of the armed Christian, but spiritually his equipment is coming apart. Then comes Ducessa. She is beautiful, ornamented, persuasive, and false for Spencer's Protestant audience. Her scarlet magnificence could evoke Revelation 17. The richly adorned woman in purple and scarlet, associated with Babylon, religious corruption, and spiritual infidelity.
All right. Let's go back here. Let's see what we have on this one.
The two-tier system in California is so bad, it's crazy. You can see it just from the toilets. On this side, people fight for scraps, while on the other, the billions of dollars, flush it all.
More cash, keep it coming!
Whoosh, billions gone.
Stop, that's our money!
Keep flushing, more billions.
Obscene amounts, down it goes!
Gone, billions, ha ha ha.
No, you monsters!
Come on, flush already.
It's stuck, the pressure is too low!
This is ridiculous. A gum wrapper won't even flush. This is insane.
Meanwhile, the government wastes millions!
Hooray for our funding! Unbelievable. How are they flushing wads of cash? I can't even flush a toothpick. It's a government perk. Watch this. Whoa! It just flushes it all. That's so unfair. Let me try. Go for it. It won't work. Good luck with that. Here goes. Flush. See? Told you. This is rigged. The state can flush billions of dollars, but my toilet needs an environmental impact report to move a Q-tip.
It's protocol. The Q-tip could disrupt the habitat.
Protocol? Look at that! Billions down the drain, no questions asked! Sir, we need a full EIR. This is insane! Just fix the damn toilet! And if I actually want the Q-tip to go down, I have to tear the cotton off the ends first. Otherwise, the cotton expands and clogs up the whole thing. That's how little water we've got. Watch, I remove the cotton, now it's safe. In it goes. California bureaucrats can make billions of dollars disappear instantly. Mission accomplished. While everybody else's toilet is apparently running a water conservation pilot program. This is ridiculous. It's barely dripping. Pour it all in. More efficiency. We can't live like this. Ugh, so many pamphlets. I just want to flush. Fine, let's flush. Wait, what? Another pamphlet? Oh, it explains why flushing is problematic. I see. Excessive flushing wastes water and harms the environment. Exactly. Every drop counts. Meanwhile, Sacramento's over there stuffing another wad of hundreds into an industrial-strength government toilet. Whoosh! No problem! Efficiency at work. Budget flush daily. What a waste! Our taxes! That's the two-tier system. They've got one toilet for the political class that can flush the state budget. And the rest of us have toilets where you have to negotiate with a Cheerio. Come on, Cheerio, just go down. Team, keep up the navel gazing. Your insights are our future.
But sir, we're just staring at our navels all day.
And we get paid for it?
This is ridiculous!
Hey, don't knock it. It's an honest day's work. Exactly. Naval awareness is productivity. Now, back to work. Welcome! We have great opportunities here. Bureaucratic government jobs never appealed to me personally. But the stability... Possibly because navel gazing was never really an option for me. My navel's always been covered up with hair. Now that... And considering the navel gazing epidemic in government, I'm scared to look at it directly at this point. What if it's hypnotic? Scared? It's the pinnacle of efficiency. But it's glowing! It's moving! That's focus. Feel the reflection. The eyes! Everyone's eyes are swirling! Exactly. Total alignment. Whoa, what's happening? A vortex? Welcome. You've been selected for Belly Button Equity. Belly Button Equity? Is this a joke? No joke. It's the Department of Naval Affairs. So that's how you become a bureaucrat. You stare into your belly button long enough and suddenly you wake up as Deputy Assistant Undersecretary of Belly Button Equity. Exactly. Now, let's celebrate.
He said it better than I did.
All right, team, listen up. We've got a staff of 600 people, and yet nobody knows what we do, including me.
What do we do?
Exactly. Look at this binder. It's just buzzwords.
Naval equity, belly button outreach?
I have no idea. We're just shuffling papers. Same as every day. The study concludes, we need another study. Another study? But we just finished one. It's essential for naval equity. This is getting ridiculous. We're just staring at belly buttons. Another study, more data. To the next study box. Fine. Back to my belly button. Now I've gotten myself worked up. I get so frustrated with these navel-gazing government bureaucrats that sometimes I need to blow off steam, which is why I get my coffee hot. Although this is California, so eventually Newsom's gonna regulate the steam as an emission. I'll have to get my coffee smogged. That's right, we're from Car B. Time for your coffee smog check. You're kidding me. Steam levels are high. It needs a filter. A filter for my coffee?
Regulations are regulations.
Grande coffee, please.
Gas, hybrid, hydrogen, or electric?
Gas.
Sorry, we can't work the air dispenser. Those can't be sold after 2035. Wait, what? A ban on gas coffee? Yeah, it's the new law.
So I'll be standing here with my state-approved zero-emission luckworm, coffee, trying to flush my cottonless Q-tip down my water conservation toilet, while Gavin Newsom and the bureaucracy flush another few $1 billion straight down theirs. Another few billion down the drain every day! Apparently California doesn't have a government waste problem. Government waste just has better water pressure than I do. Look at this thing! It's like a money volcano! Efficiency at its finest. This is ridiculous! Billions every day!
Pretty good.